back and forth, me, you, Mo, and a couple other people about, I don't know when the last time that we saw someone that was a 5-star, which means they're in the top 5% of recruits in the nation, or at least certainly in the top 10% in the nation. I don't know that we've seen a 5-star recruit and an Indiana Mr. Basketball combined into some one recruit come to IU since Steve Alford. Now, there's other names that we could throw out there, certainly names that we could throw out there that were Mr. Basketball. Maybe we could throw them out there that they were a 5-star recruit, but they weren't combined together. And I don't know, Rick, did we ever find out if there's been anybody since Steve Alford? And I could be wrong. This is an honestly don't know question, but it's just what comes to mind. I don't remember as big of a hype for an IU recruit since Steve Alford. In this level, in this capacity, let me put it that way. They've had a lot of big recruits. Certainly, Oladipo. Yes, great recruit. Didn't come from Indiana. So what we're talking about is recruits that came from Indiana. The guy down in Evansville, Calbert Chaney. Wasn't he from Evansville?
Yes, Harrison High School.
Yeah, it was Harrison High School. A lot of talk about him. He was a big recruit. I don't think he was an Indiana Mr. Basketball, and I don't think that he certainly wasn't a 5-star recruit. Am I wrong on that?
I don't believe he was a 5-star recruit, but I do have the answer to your question.
Sure, go right ahead.
Well, the answer is Cody Zeller. Was a 5-star recruit.
Okay.
Did win Indiana Mr. Basketball and committed to IU. This 2010,
okay.
I know there wasn't no hype about it like there was for Romeo, but here's the deal. It was two different circumstances. Romeo waited all the way until the second recruiting signing period to actually make his choice, where Cody was already committed while still playing, for Washington. So that helps with the hype some. And then we're talking 2010 to now. 8 years ago when social media, there was a lot of social media in 2010, but it just doesn't seem like there is a social media like there is now. So that's two separate things.
Well, the thing about Cody Zeller certainly was a great recruit, and he's playing for the Hornets now, I think. But it's certainly a great recruit and was able to graduate, go on the bigger and better things in the NBA. The thing about it, though, with Cody Zeller is he, like you said, committed before the hype, and there wasn't as big of a drought at that point. There wasn't the talk about not being able to recruit inside Indiana, and it wasn't a new coach. There wasn't a lot of things going on that are going on now that maybe contributed to the hype of now. Who's a better player? Now we'll talk about this. Who's going to be better for the IU program? Was it Cody Zeller? Was it Oladipo? Was it Calbert Chaney? Was it Steve Alford? Is it going to be Romeo Langford? You tell me, who's the most successful standout player that you think contributed most to the program?
Well, now we're talking about two different eras of basketball, which kind of is like an unfair question. I just said that Romeo committing to IU, now gives things the okay for other 5-stars to commit to IU, and that's great for the program. But if we're only going to get 1 year of service out of Romeo, I mean, I don't think that's really all that great for the program, because now you can't build a team off a guy that's only going to be there 1 year. So guys like Calbert Chaney and Steve Alford and guys that played back then who stayed, even Cody Zeller stayed 3 or 4 years, is better for the program. But Romeo committing is great for the program just because it tells other 5-stars it's okay, and it's a great win for Archie Miller.
Well, here's the thing: we're going on assumptions here. I mean, and it's probably very good assumptions, and it's probably reason to believe that we're right. So I'm just playing the devil's advocate here, but certainly he's not committed to the NBA yet. He's committed to IU. So a lot of things can happen in a year. Certainly, we don't expect that he will be more than a 1-year rental. And we'll take it, and we'll go on down the road with it. And like you said, it does send a clear signal to other 5-star recruits. It's okay to come to Indiana University. But, playing the devil's advocate here, he's not committed to the NBA yet, right?
Right. Here's the other thing too. It now guys like Tom Izzo and Thad Matta and these other great coaches in the Big Ten are already game planning for Romeo. So when you go against Michigan State and Ohio State and Michigan and Iowa and Wisconsin and these great Big Ten teams, we don't know how Romeo is going to react to it being double teamed by college athletes as opposed to just here high school kids here in Indiana. It's a whole different level, whole different defense. If he comes out and averages 8 or 9 points a game, even though he's a great player, I mean, is he going to leave for the NBA after 1 year? I wouldn't think so. So we just don't know how his high school game is going to translate to the college game just yet. And there's other variables, too, like Juwan Morgan. What's Juwan Morgan going to do? Juwan Morgan has declared for the NBA draft, but he didn't hire an agent. So that leaves the door open for him to say, I don't want to do the draft. I'll come back to IU for my senior year. That's going to play a big factor into the success of IU and the success of Romeo this year, having another guy, a leader on the court. Because if Juwan Morgan leaves, probably going to be the team leader as a freshman. So that's just going to give more Big Ten teams the opportunity to kind of D up on him a bit. And, so it's going to be interesting to see, what the state of the program is going to be here in a couple of months, because the draft is here in June. So Juwan Morgan has until June 21st to undeclare for the draft, basically.
Absolutely. So we'll see. The story is still being told, and a lot of things can happen in the next year, and we'll see if he does go to the NBA, and hopefully, I don't know that he's got enough for one manner, if you will, to get us deep into the tournament, but I would think we could at least, with him, stay alive. Of course, we're talking way too early. We don't know anything about seedings. We don't know anything about records. We don't know anything at this point. We're just talking. But I think we could at least see him getting them into the Sweet 16, which is a huge, huge factor. Well, hell, getting them into the tournament in itself will be a huge factor and a huge win for Archie Miller. I think a lot of people came out the gate, were kind of disappointed in his first year. Again, that's Indiana for you. That's Indiana fans. We're a very impatient fan base, so we certainly want to go back to the days of glory. I compare Indiana basketball right now and our fan base in a lot of ways is, you've got that great model that may have been a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader back in the 1970s and was smoking hot in the 70s. But you look at her in 2018 and not so hot anymore. But she still thinks when she looks in the mirror, she still thinks she's that cheerleader from the 1970s. So I think a lot of people in the fan bases still think that we're that dream team. We're that team that Bobby Knight and Steve Alford and others had, that we are still that group, and we aren't. The reality is we have grown old and ugly, Rick.
Yeah, it's kind of the curse for Notre Dame fans, too. Notre Dame's success was all the way back in the 40s and 50s and then the 70s, and they even got a title in the 80s. But it's that same curse. You taste success for so long, and then when you don't have success anymore, but you still think that you're a successful program. Well, IU basketball is a very successful program. It's one of the elite programs. It's one of the blue bloods of college basketball, one of the greatest fan bases, probably the best place to watch a game at Assembly Hall. So it's not really a curse. I understand what you're saying. As being a Notre Dame fan, I think the same way for my Fighting Irish. All the success they had decades ago, we're still an elite program now, and it is because without IU basketball, without IU, college basketball would just be completely different. Without the success that IU's had, because what do the Pacers say? Indiana, we grow basketball here, so without the Hoosiers, it would be a totally different look and feel to college basketball. So, yeah, I know what you're saying.
Absolutely. So we'll see what Romeo can do for the Indiana basketball scope. And, we don't know also what's going to happen here in the next year with basketball, not necessarily how it pertains to IU or Archie Miller, but just how it pertains to the landscape of basketball. We might see a situation here where Tom Izzo is no longer the coach of Michigan State. We might see a situation where Dane Fife won't be the heir apparent at this point which is an IU grad as well, an heir apparent to the throne at Michigan State because he's part of that group. They might clean house. We don't know what's going to happen with Louisville. We don't know what's going to happen with a lot of teams, a lot of the scenario with this FBI investigation and the scandals that have come down. One of the things I think what we will see is more of an open transparency between shoe companies and athletes and the NCAA saying, hey, athletes can have a job. You work for Nike. You get a paycheck. We can't control that. College students are allowed to have a job. I think you'll be seeing that the NCAA, to save the NCAA is going to have to go in and change some rules.
The other thing is, I don't know for sure. I'll do some more reading on this, but I know they just did a whole investigation and a study and everything. There's going to be a ruling at some point, but I just don't know if it's going to be before the season this year. As college basketball is going to get rid of that one and done thing and make that you can't be a one and done anymore. You have to do it at least 2 years, kind of like college football, or 3 years. You have to be at least a junior before you can leave. I don't know if that's coming out this year or if that's soon down the road or way down the road, but I know that is an issue, getting rid of the whole one and done thing that's going on right now in college basketball.
Well, that's certainly a big thing, but that is such a minor group of people. I don't really care when they go to the NBA. If they want to go, they could go. They want to go, they could go. I mean, we don't keep theater majors from going to Hollywood and making a movie when they're still in college. We don't keep musicians from going on to record and make a decent living while they're still in college. We don't keep baseball players. Here's what we do with baseball players. If baseball players want to go ahead and go the way the MLB's got it set up, they can get drafted right out of high school. But the thing about it is if it doesn't work out, or for a lot of different reasons, they can go back to college and go to college paid for by the MLB. So, yeah, I agree. The one and done thing needs to go away. But I don't really care if we have it or don't have it because it doesn't bother me. Other than the fact that we just need a level playing field. We need everybody transparent. We need everybody above board. We don't need these secret, dark closet rooms. We don't need strippers. Well, we need strippers. They're very, very well needed in the world. But not just kidding. But we don't need them in college recruiting dormitories. And, as we've seen come down, we've seen a lot of things come down that have been shady.
That is the reason why Romeo's at IU. That's what I was talking about why you stepped away. It's, what went down at Louisville is the reason why Romeo kind of reopened his recruiting and then chose IU, because IU wasn't on Romeo's radar at first. I know he's here in the state, and that was a different regime at IU. IU was not on Romeo's radar. I mean, he was 98% committed to Louisville, and then the whole thing with the escort services, Rick Pitino being fired and everything, now he just did away with Louisville and kind of reopened his recruiting, and that's how he lands at IU.
Well, absolutely, and I'm glad that he's there. I'm excited to see what's going to happen with him, and we'll see what happens. So we're going to take a break. We'll be back, and hopefully we'll get Mo for the BS Sports Show, talk a little bit more about Romeo, the Kentucky Derby. Obviously, if you got some money on the ponies today, Mo can help you out on that and who to pick and who not to pick. I didn't do any betting on the ponies this year, but I'll probably do it again next year, but that's okay. I never seem to do well, and as Matt said, the weather could play a very big factor in that. So we'll talk to Mo about that, as well as, of course, as I mentioned in our opening dialogue, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Toronto Raptors did what Toronto does. My name is tom-marquis, El Presidente. We'll be right back right here on the Balance Radio Network.
Bobby, you here again?
Yeah, my doctor told me to reduce stress at work, so I come to Buffalo Wild Wings to eat lunch and watch sports. I get to pick one of 7 entrees, like sandwiches and salads, plus one of 7 sides.
Well, I like sides.
It's so affordable I can finally take a vacation.
Where you gonna go?
Here, Tim, here.
Introducing the new Beat Up Fast Break Lunch Menu, starting at a new low price.